Dan?
All right.
Hey, Glen Kuiper here, along with Dan Coach Emilio. Of course, Dan has the terrific show on the NorCal Sports Network covering the San Francisco Giants, good and bad. I'm Glen Kuiper. I got my own YouTube channel now, the Glen Kuiper Show, All Giants. So Dan and I have had many conversations on the air and off the air about this Giants team. So we're going to have fun today. Make sure you subscribe to not only Dan's show, and again, the NorCal Sports Network, my show on YouTube as well. So hit that subscribe button. But I think you're going to enjoy today's show as we cover the Giants. So Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Glenn. It was a heck of a week for the Giants, a heck of a series. I don't have my broomstick out, but it would be nice to have it in the background. My goodness, I did not expect the Giants to sweep the Atlanta Braves.
No, it was crazy. I mean, what a week. And I know you're banged up. You feeling okay? You got a bad back, right?
Yeah, I got a herniated disc. I'm hurting, but you know what? I'm trying to stay off the IL. So
You're a gamer, Dan. All right, hey, let's get going. What we're going to do today is Dan and I, we're going to cover today's game. We're going to cover the weekend series against the Braves, and we're going to cover the homestand because I think it was one of the most unique homestands I've seen in a long, long time. And we'll check out the upcoming road trip for the Giants, which is interesting. We're going to check out interesting thing I want to talk about with Dan, and I think he's going to like it, is we're going to look at the National League West, the rotation situations for the teams in the National League West. And where do the Giants stand? Are they in better shape than these other teams? The reason I want to do this, Dan, is the Corbin Burns thing kind of got me thinking about, gosh, there's a lot of big name guys banged up in the National League West that should be in starting rotation. So you know what? We'll finish the show with that, and I think it
sounds good.
I think it's interesting. So today, Giants win 4-3, fifth straight win. It was just kind of I don't want to say boring. It was just a solid game. Not a lot going on offensively. Giants had only 3 hits today, but there was a big hit with Yaz, and some guys that the Giants need to get going again did. And I thought Yaz was huge today.
Yeah, that was a huge hit.
The sack fly too, right? Two straight sack flies. So what were your thoughts on the game today?
You know, it was interesting because the Giants today, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, did they only end up with 3 hits today and score 4 runs? Yep. So they made the most out of little production, but they were timely hits. I mean, Yaz's sack fly to make the score, would that make it 2-1 or 3-1? I'm trying to remember what the score was at the time. That Yaz, it was 3. It was 2. Yeah, it was 1-0. Then they tied it up 1-1. Then the Braves scored 2. Tied it up. And then the Giants. What's amazing about this, Glenn, is the Braves went up 3-1, and in the third, and the Giants, didn't take too long. Just one more inning. They came back with 3 in the fourth, and their pitching held up. Their pitching is phenomenal. They've got the lowest ERA, I believe, after the 9th inning. There was a stat that was put up on the board today. It's the lowest this season team after the 6th inning. They're at 1.98, which drops even further. Actually, the Mets are second at 2.99, a full run. You don't see that often, a full run difference between first and second. That's how dominant the Giants bullpen has been this year.
It's crazy. So, a couple of things that stood out to me. And, I like to find, things that maybe don't pop up on the score sheet. But I thought the double steal was huge. Chapman double steal with Smith, I believe. And, that led to in the second, that led to the sack fly, little things like that. Chapman's stealing second or stealing third, front end of the double steal, kind of a little thing that you almost forget about, but that got him a sacrifice fly.
Yes.
And then you win the game by 1 run, so that's what this team needs to do. Small things like that, because, yesterday notwithstanding, I just don't know that they're going to hit a ton of home runs, but they don't need a lot of runs, Dan, when you have pitching like they have. I say it all along, if you pitch really well and you catch the ball, you may only need one big hit per game. And that's
Right.
exactly what happened today. Yaz got the 2-run double. You throw in a sac fly here and there, and you put the ball in play. Fitz puts the ball in play, and the guy boots it at second base, got another run, and you win the game by 1 run. So a lot of little things in every baseball game, and today was a perfect example.
Well, Glenn, you bring something up very interesting. You said they win the game by 1 run. That is 5 consecutive wins, 5 consecutive 1-run wins. I don't think, and I've been a Giants fan since 1968. I don't recall 5 consecutive wins by 1 run.
Yeah.
That's just really remarkable. And to think that this team had lost 2 to open up the homestand, and Wednesday was down 5-0. Yeah. I was kind of on the getting ready to jump off the cliff crowd a little bit. It was because they hadn't scored 4 runs in 15 straight games, and they're down 5-0. And you're thinking they're going to lose 3 in a row to the Padres. They could get swept tomorrow. And all of a sudden, lightning out of a bottle, the catch that Johnson made that night in center field to save the game, or in right field, but it was really a straightaway center, the hit. But that was unbelievable comeback, and the Giants have not looked back since that Wednesday morning. And I'm sure we'll touch base a little bit about the changes this week.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. So Landon Roop today, and he had a great month of May. The kid's really, what I'm enjoying with Landon Roop is yes, he's pitching great. He had a great month of May. I don't think he was at his best today, but he stayed with it. But he's evolving right in front of our eyes, Dan, as a pitcher. Last year you watched him pitch, you're like, great curveball. But now all of a sudden he's not using that curveball as much. He's going to other pitches, and he's evolving in front of us as a pretty good young starting pitcher. That to me is pretty cool.
Yes.
The stuff was not great today. I've seen him have better stuff, but he gets through 6 innings, 3 runs, a couple of strikeouts. He gets a win. And now you're looking at a guy, Dan, for the year, 4-4 with a 3.29 ERA. That's pretty darn good. And I just like what I'm seeing because he's getting better. Not just statistically, but watching him pitch, you're noticing where he's trying to improve, and it's working. And his velocity was down today. I thought, he was 90, 91, but none of it mattered. He ground through 95 pitches, and he picks up the win. So I'm proud of the guy because he knows what he needs to get better at, and he's doing that. And now he's a 3-4 pitch guy. And he's doing a heck of a job. So that's exciting to me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's great to see him not have his best stuff, but still battle and go 6 innings and get another quality start.
Yeah. So that was good in the bullpen, as you talked about. Walker, a nice clean inning. That was big.
That was huge.
They can get Walker straightened out, and he struggled, and then he's had a couple good outings, and he felt like he fixed some things, but then we saw him the other night, not great. But he had a nice clean 7th inning. And then Rodriguez, who's, he may be an all-star. It's ridiculous. His ERA is 0.61, Dan. 0.61.
Unreal. I really like Rodriguez in that 8th inning spot now. And I like Walker in the 6th or 7th. Today, it looks like Tyler Rogers was not available, or maybe
I don't think he was. Yeah,
it was, which made it even better that Roop was able to get through 6 and not 5, because then you would have had an extra reliever. You would have had to pull somebody in there, and I don't know who that would have been. If that would have been, Jelly's pitched well recently, and I don't know if he's had
Bivens. Bivens was
I was thinking Bivens. Yeah, thinking Bivens. Yeah,
so. I don't think Rogers was available today. So you know what? I've been saying this all along, Dan, and I think you see it too. Rodriguez has he's been sensational, but I think the Giants are careful with him. They're careful with him because, listen, he's a small guy.
He's small. Yeah.
Throws 100 miles an hour. He snaps his slider. So I think listen, this kid's dynamite. We don't want to run him out there 75 times this year. So I think they are being careful with him. I don't think you're going to see Randy Rodriguez have a lot of stretches where he throws 3 times in 4 games. I just don't see it.
Oh, I don't think so. No, he's just, like you said, he's a smaller frame guy, and they said it takes him a little longer to recover.
Yeah,
and he's
that's
not
right.
always available the next day. One of the things that your brother Dwayne and Mike brought up in the broadcast today, which was huge, was you're going into Colorado with a rested bullpen with a day off tomorrow.
Day off, yeah, big deal.
And that is huge because I'm looking at I just looked ahead at Tuesday's pitcher. The guy the Giants are facing has an 8.5 ERA.
Well, I think they all have that in Colorado.
Yeah.
So,
and when we get to that series, I want to ask you a question about that, but
absolutely
about the pitching staff. But Glenn, this was really a big boost because the Giants now are 10 games over 500 when they were just 5 days ago in danger of being 5. Let's see, they were they were 5 over. They were in danger of falling to 4 under.
Yeah, which is scary.
So, once you get down there and you lose 3 in a row, and you losing to your team like the Padres, and that would have been the 5th straight loss to the Padres had they not come back Wednesday night. That gets in your head. All of a sudden, can we beat these guys? They own us. And now you go in on Thursday, you're looking at a sweep, and all of a sudden, maybe you're 3 games over 500. The Braves are coming in, and you're on a tailspin. That win Wednesday night, I've got that circled as the game of the year.
Me too. Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. So what happened today, the Dodgers win 7-3 in St. Louis. So they avoid being swept in St. Louis, and the Padres win 1-0 in Milwaukee. So Giants and Padres remain 1 game back of the Dodgers in the National League West. So it's shaping up to be a pretty fun summer. So again, today, Giants win their 5th straight. Final score 4-3. They sweep the Braves. So Dan, let's move on to this series. Spend a little bit of time just on this 3-game series. But you think Friday night, the Giants were trying to give the game to the Braves. Right. They got 3 guys out on the bases. They just didn't look good. I was at the game and I was thinking they're not going to win this game, just because they weren't playing well.
Right.
But they managed to win it, on a wild pitch Saturday. Braves are 1 out away from breaking a losing streak, and they don't get it done. And then today, so it's hard to believe, Dan, but the Atlanta Braves have lost 7 in a row, and they have lost 14 out of their last 17. And I look at their lineup and I look at their roster, specifically their lineup, and it's like, man, they shouldn't they be better than that?
Tells you how important. Tells you,
they have been really good, but not this year.
Tells you how important pitching is.
Yeah,
it really does, because their pitching has been rough because, Strider has not found himself. We saw him today. He's not the same dominant Spencer Strider before he went out with Tommy John. Chris Sales, he's starting to pick it up. He's looking good again, but that's really about it. Schwellenbach started off the season great, but then he's been a little bit up and down, and their bullpen's a mess. Their bullpen is a disaster. That's 2 tales of 2 different franchises right now. You got the Braves who cannot. They blew a 6-run lead on Thursday. They were up 10-4 against the Diamondbacks before they imploded in the top of the 9th, lose 11-10, and then fly to San Francisco. What a difference of that flight. I mean, that flight had to be like just rough.
Yeah, they haven't recovered from that either. But
no.
So I mean, this is a Braves team too. They have made 7 straight postseason appearances. They're a regular in the postseason. So to see them struggle the way they are, it really is kind of mind-boggling to me. But now they're 27-37, Dan. And how about this? tough division, right?
Yeah.
14 games behind the first place New York Mets. 14 games.
Right.
So not only are you struggling, but the Mets are a very, very good team and they're winning a lot. So now you find yourself 14 back.
And they're 9.5 behind the wild card race, which is still, still doable territory. But you got to start thinking here we are, June 8th, probably another 5 weeks, 6 weeks you got left to decide, are you selling or are you standing pat? Are you buying? This could help the Giants in a way, because there's a player that the Giants might be able to use, a guy like a Marcell Ozuna, who's a free agent, who's possibly you could pick up at the trade deadline for not a whole lot because he's a rental. There's other options. Do they look at saying, hey, now's the time to move off of an Ozzy Albies? I don't know what the Braves might be thinking, but that's been a spot that the Giants may need to look at. If Tyler Fitzgerald's bat doesn't start waking up, are they going to, go the whole year with, a slumping, Fitzgerald has been excellent in the field. I haven't seen anything to warrant him say, hey, he's not been a sound defensive player. He's got speed.
Defensively, yep.
So if his bat, the Giants, think about this, Glenn. They're one game out of first place, and they have 3 guys in their lineup hitting below 200 in Adames, Bailey, and who was the other one I was thinking of? Adames, Bailey. Maybe it's only 2, but they're got some real struggles in the lineup. If these guys even just come close to their career averages, they're going to get hot. That suggests they'll get hot in the second half just to come up to their average. So if Adames hitting about 193 right now, if Willie can hit 230 on the year, that means he's hitting over 250 the second half, which you could absolutely live with.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I'm pulling for Willie big time, but I've said it all along. I think the offense has been so, but I do think there's a little bit more in there. And the pitching's going to continue to be very good. But so anyways, Giants going one direction, Atlanta Braves going in the other. So let's get to the homestand, Dan.
Yeah.
We've kind of been around the homestand here, but first of all, before we get into the, 7 games, all one run, crazy, emotionally up and down, let's start with what happened with the roster switch, because I think it was time. Buster and his gang said, we got to do something. We got to shake things up, as they like to say. So you bring in Dom Smith, you get Daniel Johnson up. We don't know a lot about Johnson. He looks like he's got some talent, can run a little bit. We know about Dom Smith. But it turns out, Dom Smith has helped the Giants win a couple games already. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and say, Lamont Wade wasn't doing that. I don't want to do that. Lamont Wade, I hope he gets, and I think he may have just gone to the Angels, which is good. But the point is that you can make roster changes with not star players, but you get somebody else in there, see what he can do. And that can make a difference. And I think Dominic Smith has made a difference already. He's a very good defender. I had heard that he was a good defender, and he has showed that he's a good defender early on, and some really quality at bat stand. So, Dominic Smith has done what he was brought in to do, just upgrade first base a little bit. So, you know what I say?
Right.
Good for him, man.
Yeah. And by the way, you are correct on that with the Angels. Alex Pavlovic just tweeted out 7 minutes ago, Giants traded Lamont Wade Jr. in cash considerations to the Angels for cash considerations or a player to be named later. A small deal between the Manayasin brothers.
Good. That's right. Yeah. Well, good. You know what? I'm glad for Lamont. I hope he can figure it out and do well with the Angels, because he it was tough for him second half of last year and this year, but we should not forget this guy had a nickname, right? I mean, he did a lot
late
of
night.
Giants. Yeah, late night Lamont. So you know what? Good for him. But I think what's happened this week, Dan, is it is a real thing that you can shake up a roster and it can make a difference to a struggling team.
Yeah. Yeah. And the guys that end up struggling on here, what happened to our little, did we lose something here? Hold on here. Did we? Oop. I don't know what happened. My screen checked out here. Is everything looking okay? Okay.
Look good.
I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my screen moved on me. Anyway, I was just saying, I root for Lamont Wade. He had a rough year, but he was very, very gracious to me when I interviewed him a couple years ago in the clubhouse, and I really like the guy, and I hope he does very well with the Angels.
So I was thinking about this homestand, and we know 7 games, 5-2 final record for the Giants, all the games, 1-run games, but emotionally it was crazy, right? You lose on Monday night 1-0 and you're pissed, right? And then the game on Tuesday, that sort of sent people over the edge a little bit. And then you get to that Wednesday thing, which you talked about, the game where the Giants had to win and they come back, and then you win again Thursday, and then what happened this weekend. But not only was that game on Wednesday circled, like you said, and I agree with you, I think you could circle the Elliot Ramos double that tied the game in, I want to say maybe the 7th inning. I'm not sure exactly what inning was, but so you're down 5-0, you fight back, and then Ramos has a giant hit. He lines a double to left, brings home 2, and that tied the game, sent the crowd into a frenzy. And you can make an argument that may have been the biggest hit of the year for the Giants.
That was huge. That was huge, and you could see the emotion on Ramos as he was. If you could lip read, you know what he was saying. But hey, you know what? I'm just going to do something real quick because my screen on my end messed up, so I'm going to just back out and come right back in, and this way I can, because my board's frozen and I cannot put up any comments. So I will be right back.
No, that's fine. Like I said, I just, I thought the homestand to me was just, it was so interesting because of the roller coaster of emotions for Giants fans watching this, where after the Tuesday night game, I mean, now you're only, you're only 5 over, but you just lost to the Padres and you can't beat the Padres, and Doval gives it up. And I think the Giants were a little like, come on, man. And then you make these roster moves, and then you come back, get the huge win on Wednesday, walk off again or you win a close game on Thursday, and then this weekend. So you think about the emotional roller coaster of Monday through Sunday of this homestand, where all the games are 1-run games. It's crazy, but there's also an enjoyment factor. I know 1-run games, we always laugh, it's torture. My brother said that, 15 years ago, but it is kind of torture, but there's a huge entertainment value there as well. Dan, you hear me now? Dan, you good?
Yes, I'm good. Yes. I'm good. Yeah.
What I'm getting to here is the entertainment value of what we just saw from a fan's perspective in the last week at Oracle Park, where you have all these close games and you're down and you're up and you're like, oh my God. But it's crazy. It was a crazy week. I haven't seen a week like this in a long time.
Yeah, this week I haven't seen a week go this well, start off so poorly when, Tuesday night, everybody, whether it was, anything related to Giants media, whether it be social media or, beat writers of close to the club, we're all saying something's got to change. Something's got to change. Yeah. And then we wake up Wednesday morning and, Lamont Wade Jr. and Sam Huff were DFA'd. Christian Koss was sent down to Sacramento. up comes Kinzer, and they sign Dominic Smith, and then they bring up Daniel Johnson, and you're thinking, is this just reshuffling decks on the chair on the Titanic? What's going on? And then you see what happens Wednesday night, and you're like, oh my goodness. I got to say this, Glenn. I always thought Dominic Smith was kind of a pest when he played the Giants. He's a guy that would come up with, a big hit with the Mets when the Mets were down by a run, or, to tie it up or to take the lead. And what I love about Dominic Smith is he's a veteran, and you can see he plays a really good first base. He's very, very smart player. We saw it twice this week, him diving to unassisted play at first base rather than take the chance and risk of tossing the ball to the pitcher and maybe having a bang play, or, and then you see him go to left field a lot with the pitch away. He'll just, he's more of a contact hitter with something the Giants could use more of, guys that situationally just slap the ball out there. And what was it a couple nights ago? Was it Friday night he won it with 2 sac flies?
He had a couple sac flies, and
he
had the 2-run double. But I mean, when was the last time, the Giants have so much trouble getting that runner home from third with less than 2 outs. And then, hey, he fights, puts together some good at-bats and gets a couple sacrifice flies. So, they're little things, but they're not little things, right? So, he's brought a little spunk, but he's also brought a little production, right? And in the big picture, that's what you need. Is it going to last for the next 3.5 months? Who knows? But a change was made, and it has sparked them a little bit. And a change doesn't always have to be, hey, we just traded for an all-star, right? That's great. That doesn't always happen. So, you know what? The new players have helped out. Daniel Johnson looks like a pretty good outfielder. He helped out win a game, right? He made a huge catch, scored a couple runs in his first game. So again, who knows how long he's going to be here? Who knows how much production he's going to have? But he helped win a game or two.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think, Glenn, the Giants are, I've been saying this since the beginning of the year, it's going to come down to the last week, may come down to the last weekend, maybe even the last game. When you talk about one game, and we saw what happened last year, 3 teams, the Mets, Braves, and Diamondbacks all tied for that wild card spot.
Yep.
The Diamondbacks had to sit and watch and hope for a sweep from one of the teams, and they split. Diamondbacks got knocked out. Every game counts, and I think the Giants, if they're going to make it, everything's going to have to go right. And we talked a little bit about this with the pitching in the West, the injuries to the Dodgers. I think I saw something like they have 15 pitchers on the IL, some crazy amount. The Diamondbacks have lost, Burns and a couple of other guys, and the Padres have had guys on the IL. The Giants have dodged that bullet. Justin Verlander, he's probably, my guess is he comes back, and I want to get into this with you because they got this LA series coming up with Colorado and then LA. Harrison starts Tuesday. That means his spot comes up Sunday in LA. Do you bring in, does Verlander make his comeback there? Or do you let Harrison pitch? Or would you flip Robbie Ray because of the day off tomorrow? You could flip Robbie Ray and have him start Tuesday and Harrison Wednesday. I feel better with a veteran pitching the last game Sunday in LA, either Verlander or Ray. Not that Harrison's not capable, but that's a tough task.
Yeah. And it sounded like Verlander's going to pitch again in Colorado. He's going to throw another
side.
Or may face hitters. I'm not sure, but they want one more to build up his pitch count a little bit. So it would depend on when that happens. I believe it's going to be either Tuesday or Wednesday. If it was Wednesday,
sets them up for Sunday, which is Harrison's spot, which is kind of
so
interesting.
that's possible. That's possible. We'll see. But yeah, well, let's do that, Dan. Let's do this kind of the pitching rotations in the National League West as of right now, because I thought it was really interesting. You mentioned that. Let's start with the Dodgers, right?
Yeah.
Dodgers have so much firepower that they're going to win games whether they have good pitching or not. I mean, that's the Dodgers. They're probably not going to change. It's going to be that way for a long time, Dan. But they have 14 pitchers on the injured list, 7 of them starters. They've been kind of fighting this all year, but you start looking at this, Dan. Tyler Glasnow, terrific pitcher, but gets hurt a lot.
Right.
$30 million a year. He's in the first year of a 5-year, $136 million deal. Blake Snell is making $36 million a year. First year of a 5-year, $182 million deal. Now, to be fair, all these contracts have opt-outs and deferrals and, all that kind of stuff. We don't care about that. The fact is, that's 2 really, really good pitchers that the Dodgers are missing. Sasaki, the youngster from Japan, is out. Tony Gosselin just went back on the injured list. Gavin Stone, another young, talented writer, he's out. So you got the Dodgers. They have all these guys banged up. They got bullpen guys banged up. So they have significant issues across the board with their pitching staff, but they're just so good offensively, Dan. I don't think it's going to keep them from winning. You understand what I'm saying? Because they can score so many runs. I think,
no doubt,
the other teams in the National League West, those type of injuries would keep them from winning, I think.
It would bury teams.
Yeah, but the Dodgers, they're going to score enough. They will get Ohtani back to pitch soon. We don't know how he's going to be, but your thoughts on the Dodgers? And I just don't see any situation where their offense doesn't overcome any pitching shortfalls that they have. Such a good offense.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, they've got 5 guys that are probably, all-star material. Teoscar won't make the all-stars because the National League is loaded with outfielders, but you got you've got you starting off, leading off, you got Shohei, and then you got Betts, and then you got Freeman. There's 3 Hall of Famers right there.
Yeah.
And then you got Will Smith, who's an excellent hitting catcher.
Terrific. Yeah, he's terrific.
And then you got Teoscar Hernandez. And we're not even talking about, Tommy Edmonds and Max Muncy as guys that, you look at those guys and you say, but in their own way, they can turn a game, especially Muncy if he gets hot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So they've got 7 guys. And then Conforto hit the other night, finally did something for the Dodgers. He knocked in the go-ahead run or the tying run, Michael Conforto, a couple days ago. So if he gets going at all, they're going to be very difficult to stop with scoring runs. You're going to have to – I don't think the Giants can get into a slugfest with the Dodgers and beat them.
No, nobody's going to beat them in a slugfest. I mean, they're so good offensively, and they no question have the ability to deal with all their pitching injuries. But let's slide to the Padres. They're in an interesting spot, Dan. And I looked at their injury situation, not only for this year, but looking ahead down the road a little bit. But right now, Darvish has been out all year. He's $21 million. He's still got 3 years left on a huge contract. Musgrove's out for the year, Tommy John surgery. He's still got a couple years left on a big contract extension he signed. Michael King, who's one of the best pitchers in the National League in the first month of the season, he's out. Dylan Cease, who's a pretty good pitcher, he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. So the Padres are dealing with some injuries as well. Now, they will get Darvish back here at some point, not sure when.
Right.
I don't know that King's injury is going to threaten his season. But the point is, another team that is very talented but banged up when it comes to their rotation. Do they have enough offense to overtake the situation they're dealing with their rotation right now? I don't know, because the Padres offense, it seems like it should be better than it is because their lineup is really good, but they're not scoring a ton of runs this year.
Right. They won today 1-0 on a Manny Machado home run.
What a surprise.
And they've got 3 guys that are really, you would consider, well, really 4 if you talk about Arias. You've got Machado and Tatis and Merrill as 3 big sluggers. And then Arias is a guy that just, wins batting titles. That's all he does. Yeah. So their lineup and the Dodgers, and it's interesting because we talk about those 2 lineups. They're going to be facing off while the Giants are in Colorado. So that should be fun. And the Diamondbacks, I'm down here in Arizona and I get a lot of news on the Diamondbacks. They can hit. They've got, Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll and Eugenio Suarez. And they've got a couple of Perdomo's having a very good season at shortstop. And they just seem to score runs. I mean, look what they did on that last road trip in Atlanta. They scored 7 runs in the 9th inning. And that was to sweep Atlanta. So these teams can hit. The Giants clearly have the edge when it comes to pitching. And I'm talking the rotation and the bullpen. I think the strength of this club is the bullpen. And to me, it's the best in baseball. And if Jordan Hicks can somehow find himself when he comes back, maybe he makes that bullpen even stronger, or maybe he becomes an asset to be used to bring something else back, to bring a bat back to the Giants.
Sure. Maybe the contract comes into play too, right? If you're picking up somebody, the Giants were to pick up somebody maybe with a big contract, you can say, well, we'll take that contract, but you got to take Hicks.
I've got a deal that I like, and I know you're familiar with this guy because he was with Oakland at one time. How about Murphy, the catcher who we just saw today, Sean Murphy, who
he's very good.
The Braves traded and gave him a pretty big contract, but they've got Drake Baldwin now, who is a rookie who they really like, who looks like he's the heir apparent. He's a young kid who can hit from the left side. I think if you could get Sean Murphy and move Hicks, and maybe the Braves need another piece or something in that deal, and you trade contracts, and then you take Bailey and Murphy and just don't worry about the platoon. Just play them 50-50 so that they're both fresh. I think that helps the Giants tremendously.
Yeah, I know the Giants like Murphy a lot. And I know that they talked to the A's about Murphy the same winter that Murphy got traded to the Braves. So the Giants have had interest in that. So I mean, that's sort of the outlook of this National League West pitching thing, and I think it's just interesting because Arizona's they got issues too now with Burns, of course, but they got issues into the future as well because guys like Gallen and Kelly, both good pitchers, they're free agents after this year.
Right.
So they're going to have to redo their starting rotation. And I guess I say that just because you at least feel good where the Giants are at because they have these young pitchers who aren't going anywhere. And you have Webb who's under contract.
It's a great point. Diamondbacks are in trouble, in my opinion, because Burns is out next year.
Yep.
And as you mentioned, Gallen and Kelly are free agents and likely to depart.
Yeah.
That leaves them, and Eduardo Rodriguez, I believe, his contract comes up. I think he did a 2-year deal.
He's
got a couple more.
Montgomery had the 2-year deal.
Oh, Montgomery, that's right. Montgomery, and he's been just a disaster for them.
Yeah, Rodriguez has 2 years left.
Oh, that's right. He did sign a 4-year deal.
I mean, I've seen him pitch, and there's not a lot there.
No, he's not the same pitcher he was a couple years ago with Detroit.
No, absolutely not. So, Dan, let's finish with the road trip for the Giants. Yeah. They got an off day tomorrow, so they'll certainly enjoy that. They're probably on their way to Denver. So 3 in Colorado, 3 in L.A., so that's what's going on this week. We all know about the Rockies. They lost again. They got swept by the Mets over the weekend. They're 12-53 overall. 6-25 at home. And there's this weird thing now going on in the National League West end where when you play the Rockies, you can't lose to the Rockies.
Right.
Right? I mean, if you're the Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants, or the Diamondbacks, and you play a 3-game series, you almost feel like you got to win all 3. Remember, the Giants played the Rockies not long ago at Oracle Park, a 4-game series, and the Rockies won the first game.
Right.
And then the Giants came back and won Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they won 3 out of 4, which is fine. But it's just losing a game to the Rockies, you just feel like you let one get away. And, it's always weird when you go to Coors Field. We've seen a lot of Giants games at Coors Field where you just, after the game, you're like, what the hell just happened? I have no idea what just happened. So, you hold your breath a little bit, fingers crossed when you go there, no matter how bad they are. But it's a tough go there. I mean, they may break this whole loss record, which.
I think they're on pace for losing at least 125 this year, which would break the all-time. It's interesting, Glenn, because you mentioned the need to go in and not lose. This is an opportunity for the Giants to go into Colorado beginning on Tuesday. They get the day off, so they'll fly up there tonight. They'll have the whole night there and the whole day tomorrow, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday, while they're facing the Rockies, the Padres are hosting the Dodgers for 3. So you kind of hope. I mean, we could end up in a situation where we're in a 3-way tie after this next 3-game series. If the Giants can just do their job and go in and sweep, I think the Dodgers, Padres, somebody's going to lose. I don't see a sweep in that series. Somebody's going to win that series 2-1. And if the Dodgers win 2 out of 3, it's a 3-way. It'd be almost, well, it wouldn't be a 3-way tie. It would be the Giants and Dodgers would be tied. But this is an opportunity for the Giants to gain on both the Dodgers and the Padres. And, when you go into Colorado, you never know what to expect. As you mentioned, crazy things happen. But this is such a bad ball club, Glenn, in Colorado, that the Giants have to go in there with the attitude of take no prisoners, just bury them and, jump out and play your best ball. Don't take them lightly. Don't look ahead to the Dodgers. That's a trap. Don't look ahead to the Dodgers. I'm hoping for a 4-2 road trip minimum.
Yeah. Well, I think the Giants would be happy with that. What else is interesting? So the Padres and the Dodgers will play tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that's a great series to certainly for.
Or are they playing tomorrow too? Is it 4-game
Monday,
series?
Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, it's a 3-game series.
Okay.
And then, but I looked at the Dodgers schedule, Dan, and it's kind of fun. And it'd be interesting to see what the standings look like in a week and a half, because the Dodgers go 3 at San Diego. That's the series we're talking about. And then they go home 3 versus the Giants next weekend. And we're talking about that. But then next week, right, after the Giants leave Dodger Stadium, the Padres go in for 4. So the Padres and the Dodgers are going to play 7 of their next 10 games against each other.
Wow.
So that's a great series. That's become a terrific rivalry. So a lot of good baseball to watch outside of the Giants coming up in the next couple of weeks too. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
We got a question.
Now it's 3.
Yeah. Got a question for you from Mark Graves. He wants to know, do you see the pitchers deals in free agency coming down with all the injuries?
Well, you keep thinking, Mark, that yes, but they don't.
I know.
But they don't. And I am listen, I'm not a fan of these long-term pitchers deals. And listen, the Giants gave Logan Webb a 5-year deal, but they gave it to him after 2 or 3 years in the big leagues, right?
Yeah, he was only like 25, 26.
Yeah, that's the point. So he's still fairly fresh as a big leaguer.
I'm not giving a 30-year-old a 4+ year contract. Anybody over 30.
Yeah, 4 would probably be the max, to be honest with you. And what happens to Dan is, let's say Corbin Burns, right? Corbin Burns is going to get a bunch of 5-year offers, right? I'm sure that, and I know the Giants made offers to him. I don't know how deep they were in with him. Maybe not quite as much as people thought they were or should be. But you get 3 or 4 teams saying, hey, Corbin, here's a 5-year deal. Well, the way to get him is then going to be, we'll do 6 years.
Right.
So you almost always have to add that extra year to seal the deal, right? But I think Mark's question is a good one, but I just don't know. I don't know that I see it stopping. Max Fried, who's a terrific.
I was just going to mention Max Fried.
He's a really,
to me, he's 31.
He's having a great year, right? But he's got an 8-year deal. And I know when I saw Max Fried get an 8-year deal right before Burns, I said to myself, I think the Giants are out of it with Burns, because that automatically had Burns's deal go from a 4-year deal to a 5 or 6-year deal.
Correct.
And I don't think the Giants were going to do that. And
I think it was a smart move.
Smart
move, and they should stay away from it. I mean, the Giants, I still think it was worth it because of what Barry Zito did in St. Louis. I still think that contract, that 7-year contract, that one game in St. Louis to save the Giants season was worth it, but it didn't turn out well during the regular season for that length of time. Jeff Samardzija and Johnny Cueto, those deals weren't that great. And Buster was part of all of those deals. Mm-hmm. He knew he was part of that. And so he's probably said, maybe that's not the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's a fair call. I mean, you're right. That's how you learn stuff, right? I mean, Johnny Cueto had a 6-year deal, and he was probably really good one of those years.
Yeah, 2016, the year they made the playoffs.
So it's a great baseball conversation. Injuries, pitchers, length of contracts. I think it's going to go on and on and on, because as long as teams are desperate for pitching, they're gonna feel a little pressure, and then they'll have to go that extra year. And like I said, Dan, a 4-year deal becomes a 5-year deal. A 5-year deal becomes a 6-year deal. And that's why, I mean, if you're a Giants fan, you should really be happy, and you should continue to hope that they keep pushing these kids. But to have young pitching, good starting pitching, maybe the greatest asset you can have as a big league team.
I think so for sure. And if the Giants can continue to develop that, if they can develop the pitching, it eases the struggle for them to find hitters, because now you have excess pitching that maybe you can use, because everybody wants pitching. Every team in the baseball is looking for pitching. And if you can develop the pitching, the Giants still have Carson Whisenhunt down there. They have Carson Seymour. They've got a couple of other guys that are up and coming. And if they can keep that pipeline full, then you can afford to go find a hitter that you need. Now, if the Giants can somehow develop hitters at the same time, you only need 2 or 3 that can come up and add to the nucleus of what you have. Then the Giants are really looking at something. I mean, this is a team that if they get into the playoffs and they get a bat or 2 and can score 4 runs in a game, going to be very difficult to beat them in a series.
Yeah, I would agree. So that's the road trip coming up. That's the pitching rotation situations in the National League West, and that's what was what a great week.
Fantastic week. Fantastic week.
I looked at the crowds, Dan. 7 games in this homestand, 258,000 fans at Oracle Park.
Wow.
That's an average of 37,000 per game for this homestand. And
that's awesome. That's awesome.
And fans are into it. And
good to see
these close, intense games. And ultimately, win or lose, I think that's what brings fans back, because there's a lot of excitement and a lot of tenseness, and I think that's good for your fan base. And Giants fans have showed out this year so far, and that's a good sign.
And today, Glenn, today was game 33 on the home for the year at home. 33. Yeah. They have had 8 walk-offs. Nearly a quarter of their home games have been walk-offs.
Yeah, that's nice to walk out.
Nice I think it was. I'm trying to think which game I was watching yesterday. I can't remember which one it was, but it was whatever team it was their first walk-off of the year. Yeah. The Giants have 8. So pretty remarkable.
Well, that's a good way to get fans back too.
Yes. Hey, and we were talking a little bit about Lamont Wade earlier, and I mentioned that he was always gracious to me. I have a little 6-second plug. I just wanted to, this is something Lamont gave to my channel.
It's Lamont Wade Jr. of the San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to Dan on the NorCal Sports Network.
Okay, so that was Lamont Wade. Subscribe to NorCal Sports Network, and make sure you subscribe to the Glen Kuiper Show, All Giants, because Glenn's got a new show relatively in the last couple of months. He's growing his channel. We've got over 764 people watching right now combined between YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. Go to our YouTube channels, The Glen Kuiper Show. Make sure you subscribe. It really does help the show. The more subscribers that come in, it's really a way that, it creates ad revenue for our channels. And, we're doing this as something we enjoy doing, but it also takes a lot of time, guys. So we do appreciate you subscribing to Glenn's show, to NorCal Sports Network, and to Lamont Wade. All I can say is I hope he has a huge year of success ahead of him.
Yeah, I do too. I hope he goes off with the Angels and gets a new contract for next year. But Dan, thanks for all your help. You're awesome, buddy. I appreciate it. Let's do this again soon, and let's wrap this thing up. Giants have won 5 in a row. Everybody should be happy. Take the day off tomorrow, relax, and then get ready for a 3-game series at Coors Field. Dan, nice job, bud. Thanks, Dan.
Glenn. Good to see you.
Everybody. Hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next week.
All right. Take care, everybody. See what we got.